Hunger is a cold, grey sea inside them for a moon. It has been rising, drowning the fire in their bellies, leaving only a hollow ache. The herds have gone, vanished from the dry plains, chased away by a deeper drought than the elders can remember. So the clan walked. They left the familiar hills of their ancestors and walked toward the endless noise, the scent of salt, and the promise of water that could not be drunk. Now they stand on the edge of their world, a line of dark, shivering figures against a shoreline of blacks and unshattered rock. The ocean is a thing of rage, a constant, thunderous assault that offers no comfort, only the raw, chilling power of a world they do not understand. Rao, the clan's lead tracker, walks the tide line, his feet sinking into the wet, sucking sand. His skills, the near magical ability to read a story from a broken twig or a scuff in the dust, are useless here. The sea erases everything, but this morning the receding tide has left something new. Tracks. They are enormous, bigger than a cave bear's, with the deep, dragging impression of immense weight, but it is the shape that stops him. The marks of 5 huge, curved claws are gouged into the sand, but the print itself is broad and flat, as if the creature walks on the sides of its feet. It is a track he has never seen, an animal that does not exist in any of the clan's stories. He follows. The trail leads from the sparse, salt-stunted trees at the edge of the beach, a clear path of a heavy body moving from the land. But it does not circle back. The tracks go in a straight, deliberate line down to the water's edge and simply vanish into the churning, grey chaos of the surf. Rao calls the others. They gather around, a small knot of starving early humans, and stare at the impossible evidence. Alien creature, a behemoth by its tracks, has walked into the sea. It makes no sense. The ocean is a barrier, a place of scaled, finned things, of monsters from a different creation. Mammals, warm-blooded and furred, belong to the land. This is a fundamental law. A shout from a scout farther down the beach breaks their confusion. He points, his arm trembling, not at the water, but into it, 50 paces out, where the waves crash over a series of submerged rocks. Something is moving. It is not a whale, not a shark. It is a shaggy, brown-furred beast, its back slick with brine, its powerful shoulders working as it braces against the surge. It lowers a massive, soap-like head beneath the surface and drips away a great mouthful of dark green seaweed clinging to the rocks. It rises, water streaming from its coarse fur, and chews with a slow, grinding motion. Its blunt snout indifferent to the tons of water smashing against its body. It is the creature from the tracks, a mammal living in the sea. They have no name for it, of course. To them, it is simply an impossibility, a monster that breaks the rules of the world. A creature that would one day leave its bones in the sand as a baffling puzzle for the far future science of paleontology. It is Thalassocnus. If you have ever stared at the edge of your knowledge, at a reality that defies every story you have ever been told, then you are standing on this cold beach with them now. The clan stares, paralyzed by a mixture of primal fear and a desperate, gnawing hunger. The beast is huge, a living mountain of meat, slow and seemingly unaware of them, but it exists in an element that is their enemy, or gives way to the brutal calculus of survival. It is food, it must be food, it must be food, it must be food, but how do you hunt a monster that can walk into the waves and disappear? The decision is born of desperation. They will hunt the impossible beast. Their first attempt is a chaotic, near-suicidal failure. They wait for the tide to recede, exposing the slick, seaweed-covered rocks where the creature grazes. 10 hunters, armed with their best flint-tipped spears, creep over the treacherous footing. The roar of the surf a deafening thunder in their ears. Rao leads, his heart a frantic drum against his ribs. The Thalassocnus is even larger up close, a solid wall of muscle and depth. Shaggy fur that smells of salt and wet. Animal, its massive curved claws, clearly not made for walking on land, are anchored to the rock, holding its immense weight steady against the pull of the waves. They attack from all sides at once, a flurry of desperate courage. They scream their war cries, a sound immediately swallowed by the ocean's roar. Spears are thrown, jabs are made, and they accomplish nothing. The flint points, sharp enough to pierce the hide of a mastodon, glance off the creature's flank or sink less than a finger's width into its incredibly thick hide in the dense layer of blubber beneath. The beast lets out a low, guttural grunt of annoyance, more disturbed of an injured. It turns its long, placid face toward them, its small eyes blinking slowly. There is no malice in its gaze, no fury, there is only a mild, almost bovine surprise. Then it moves not with the speed of a predator, but with the inexorable, irresistible force of a landslide. It rears up, shaking its massive head, and one of its furrows sweeps out. It is not an attack, merely a motion to clear a space for itself, but the power behind it is terrifying. A hunter named Fen is caught by the sweeping claw. He is not slashed, but simply thrown, sent tumbling through the air like a piece of driftwood to crash into the rocks 20 feet away. Base sharp, the other hunters scramble back, their spears broken, their courage shattered. The beast, their living rock, has swatted one of them aside like an insect. The Thalassocnus looks at the remaining small, noisy creatures, then turns its back on them with a calm, deliberate slowness that is more insulting than any display of aggression. It begins to walk. It moves over the rocks, its clumsy gait suddenly sure-footed, and enters the deeper water. It does not swim, it simply walks along the seafloor, its body fully submerged, until its shaggy brown form is swallowed by the green, turbulent depths. The clan is left with their dead, their broken weapons, and a profound, chilling realization. They have faced a creature they cannot harm, one whose retreat is an impenetrable fortress. Hunger still gnaws at them. Now joined by the cold grip of despair, this moment, this failure, becomes a hard lesson in their long hominid history. The world is not just full of things that want to eat them, it is full of things that can simply ignore them into extinction. As they carry Fen's broken body back to the beach, Rao looks out at the waves. The sea is no longer just a barrier, it is a lair, and it holds the only food they have seen in a month. But in those same dark waters older hunters swim. They have seen sharks in the deep channels, and tales from their ancestors speak of the great sea lizards, the Mosasaea, kings of the abyss. To follow the beast into the water is to enter a world where they are not just clumsy, but blind and very, very far from the top of the food chain. Rao does not sleep, he sits before a sputtering fire of driftwood, the ocean's roar a constant companion to his thoughts. The old ways have failed. The spear, the tool that has defined his people for 1,000 generations, is useless against this new monster. To give up is to die, to watch his clan starve on this blacks, and to attack again in the same way is to join Fen in the silence. Therefore, the way must be new. His mind, a product of the relentless pressures of human evolution, turns the problem over and over. They cannot pierce the hide, they cannot fight it on their terms, they must fight it on its terms, in its element, but with a weapon that connects the two worlds. He looks at the long, tough vines the women use to carry firewood and weave baskets. He looks at the sharpened femur of a sea lion, a piece of primitive technology heavy and pointed. An idea begins to form, a desperate, terrifying piece of creative problem-solving. It is not enough to make a hole in the beast. They must hold onto it, anchor it, and let its own strength and the power of the sea become the weapons that kill it. He envisions a heavy spearhead of bone, not tied to a shaft meant for throwing, but to a long, flexible vine, a harpoon, a tether to the world of the living for a creature they will send to its death. The plan he presents to the remaining hunters at dawn is met with a mixture of fear and grim determination. They will not attack on the rocks. They will attack in the shallows where the creature is still walking, not swimming, but where they themselves will be up to their chests in the violent surge. 5 hunters will carry the new vine harpoons. Their only task is to strike, to plant the bone heads deep into the beast's flesh. The rest of the clan, men and women, will stand on the shore, holding the other ends of the vines, acting as a living anchor. They will become a single organism, a net of human will cast into the sea. They find the Thalassocnus at high tide, closer to shore, placidly grazing in the chest-deep water. The 5 hunters wade into the churning, frigid waves, the undertow a powerful, living thing trying to drag them down. The water is murky with sand and kelp. They are clumsy, slow, their movements drunken parodies of their terrestrial grace. The beast is a dark, humped shape in the turmoil. They get close, closer than they have ever been to a creature this large in the water. Rao gives the signal, a high-pitched cry that barely cuts through the noise of the surf. The hunters surge forward and strike, the heavy bone points driven by the desperation of starving men, punch through the thick hide. The beast bellows, a deep, resonant sound of pain and surprise this time. It is wounded. It is anchored. What follows is chaos. The Thalassocnus panics, trying to retreat to the safety of the deep, but the vines hold. The clan on the shore digs in their heels, the coarse vines tearing at their hands, their bodies straining against the creature's immense power. The water around the beast turns a frothy, spreading pink. The hunters in the water are tossed about like dolls, clinging to the vines, trying to drive more spears into the thrashing behemoth. It is not a hunt, it is a battle of attrition. A slow, ugly drowning in a red tide. They are killing the beast, but the scent of its blood is a dinner bell in these waters. Rao sees a dark, triangular fin cut the surface 50 yards out. Then another. The sharks are coming. The race is on. They win. But it is a victory with the taste of salt and blood. They drag the colossal carcass onto the beach, just as the first sharks begin their frenzied patrol in the shallows. The clan collapses, exhausted, bleeding, but alive. The body of the Thalassocnus, this impossible creature that walked between worlds, is a testament to their refusal to surrender to the rules of nature. They did not just hunt a beast, they hunted an idea that was alien to them, overcoming not just its strength but their own primal fear of the unknown. This hunt becomes a new kind of legend, a story not of a simple kill, but of a profound shift in their understanding of the world and their place within it. They learned that the spear is not just a tool of the hand, but of the mind, and that its form must change to meet new challenges. This brutal, desperate act of innovation, born from the brink of starvation, is a microcosm of the very process that allowed our ancestors to spread across the planet. We did not merely adapt to our environment, we adapted our minds to conquer it, turning vines into ropes, bones into harpoons, and transforming the terrifying chaos of the sea into a source of life. They proved that for humanity, the edge of the world is not a barrier, but an invitation. The greatest monsters we conquer are the boundaries of our own imagination. But what new appetites are awakened by the taste of such a strange and impossible meat?